This is Richard Fowler. I'm John Kilpatrick with Oklahoma Aikido, Louisville, Kentucky, USA. And last week we made a Shiho Nage video, and I really didn't end up showing what I wanted to show. So maybe this week I'll get it where it shows what I want to show. And what I do and what we're doing here is I try to find some principles that work in as many places as possible, and then do everything following those principles. And we started this with Aikido, and on Aikido what we did is we started just having him grab the wrist, and then we stretch this arm out so that the shoulder drops. There's a little bit of rotation here as I do that. And then we step back in here and rotate a little more and push him to the floor. So, and when we make this initial step, Aikido throws, most Aikido throws go at right angles to the line of attack. And I mean, there are certainly things that don't do that, but I think usually they should do that whether they do it or not. And so today I want to look at Shiho Nage, and I want to look at Shiho Nage because it's almost the same as Aikido, except with Aikido the hand rotates in. With Shiho Nage the hand rotates out. Other than that, there's follow the same principles, and that is the same principle too, because you've got that arm rotation. When you do Shiho Nage, the normal way of doing it is to put your thumbs on the person's pulse. And so when you hold it, you're making this kind of shape around his wrist. Actually, it's not necessary for the thumbs to be on the pulse. If you're holding the hand this way, you can be almost anywhere on the hand. You want to try to get this. This is the best position. But if you can't get that position, it really doesn't much matter. So to do this, we're going to do it just like the Aikido. So he's going to have his feet lined up with my feet. So the line of attack is through me. When you're moving, when you're dynamic, you're going at right angles to the line of movement. When you're doing a static exercise like we're doing now, you go at right angles to the line between their feet. So we're going to stretch this out just like we did with the Aikido, and with a slight rotation here, it drops this shoulder, and this is the same thing we did with the Aikido. So I've got this. Now, what I want to do, the way I was taught this, in the first place, you didn't necessarily go at this right angle, although this is one way. And then the other thing people would do is bring this arm to the outside and bring it over like this. Your partner won't like that. That hurts. People don't like that, and it scares you whether it hurts or not. So you don't want that. So what I want to do is bring this hand right back up to his shoulder. And to get that to happen, then I stretch this out. Now I'm going to step back here so that my foot's between his feet. Then I can bring this foot back and bring his hand straight over to his shoulder. And notice when I do that, this elbow comes into his side. So if we face this way and do it, so if we face this way and do it, then face straight with your feet. There we go. So being here doing this, I stretch this out, step here, and come back so that my elbow is coming here. Now I haven't stretched this out to the side. This is a movement he doesn't really mind. But with my arm here with my elbow coming into his side, it gives me tremendous leverage to throwing. And so even a very strong person has a difficult time resisting this. And so if we do it and throw it, then it looks something like, and I'll go ahead and throw it. So here, and so the throw ends up looking like that. So that's throwing it omote, where I step in front of him. And then we can do this same thing going ura. And I think it'd be better to have the feet lined up, yeah, like this, so that, so let's come this way. So for ura, I'm going to step back here, and it's going to be the same thing. This time don't turn with it. So I'm going to bring his arm back here, and it's the same thing. I stretch it out, and then come under and feed this right back in so that I'm into his back here. Now, I don't like to teach Aikido people to let, with Aikido people, your arms need to stay in front of you. And I don't like having my partner let his arms go from in front of him. So as I step here and bring his arm around, he should come around with it. So as I come here, right, he should step like that. And now, I'm back in omote position. So now I'm going to throw this thing just as if it were omote. So I have to step here and throw it it's just like omote. So what you tend to do with ura is as he comes around, you tend to try to beat him, and you try to keep circling with him. And if you do that, what happens is you end up taking his arm in this kind of circle, which is actually the way I was taught it. But it's not a really good way to, I don't think it's as good a way to throw it. And if he resists, he can resist. So if I do that with Richard, Richard can resist me and I can't throw him. So it ends up looking something like this. So I'm coming here and he comes around and I'm trying to beat him and it just makes a mess. So don't do that. If he's coming around, then step back forward and stretch him out so that it ends up being the same throw really as the omote. So the principles here is that you're grabbing with your hands here. It's very loose grip. Your grip is not tight. I don't need to be tight here. If his hand turns in my hands, that won't really matter. I'm stretching him out at right angles. Then I'm stepping back in here so that I bring this hand straight over. And then, this foot will automatically move. I'm putting this foot here. As I step back, the other foot will automatically move. And now this elbow needs to come to his ribs. So the way I think about this to get it to work is I think about hitting in the ribs with my elbow. Now you can't really hit him because you're holding onto his arm, but your elbow can go there. So I'm here, and then that elbow comes into his ribs. And another thing about this, I'm not trying to hurt anything. Really, there's nothing about this that hurts except the collision with the floor if you throw it hard. So I'm not trying to make his wrist bend. Now on Shiho Nage it might bend, but if he holds it tight so it doesn't bend, it doesn't affect the throw at all. So I'm not cranking this sideways. I mean, there's just a very little bit because as I stretch this, I want that shoulder to drop. But it's not enough to bother him. And he doesn't really have to even rotate me just turning this, whether he lets it turn or not, makes his shoulder drop. So these are the principles that we're following, and if you try to do the technique this way, I think you'll find it very effective. And doing these techniques where we're not cranking on the wrist like people normally do, we're just doing these forearm rotations, and they break your structure and make your partner weak and easy to throw. So give this a try and see what you think.